Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, welcome to my channel. If you're new, hello, my name is Casper, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about autism, because I've spoken a lot about mental health here recently, so I thought I'd talk about autism. Now, when I disclosed my ASD diagnosis to people, they was like, oh, how has it helped you, and things like that, and I was like, oh yeah, it's massively helped me, and then I might talk about it, I might not. But I thought today I'd actually sit down and talk to you guys about how my ASD diagnosis has benefited me, because it has. I'm going to be honest, it has. There are lots of drawbacks to it, but there are also lots of benefits. I'll probably do drawbacks in a different video. I don't even know if drawbacks are the right word, but that's the only word I can think of. I'm going to stop rambling, and I'm going to get into the video. But if anything else to add, please put it in the comments. Any questions, please put them in the comments, and I will respond to them. Now, the first thing, I don't know how much I can show you without sharing too much personal information, but this is a letter from my diagnostics team, more staffs, health stuff, NHS, and it's basically a letter detailing what ASD is, any adjustments or changes that I might need, and it's formatted towards schools, universities, things like that, employers, anything like that, anything of the more formal nature, and it basically saves me the conversation. It saves me explaining things. My agency have it on my file, and I can show it to any schools. I've got a massive file here with all my big life documents, so my passport and things like that, and I've got a copy of it in there, so it's great that I can show to people when I go for job applications, things like that. And although I don't need to disclose, although I don't need to disclose my ASD diagnosis to anyone, it sometimes, for me, it makes me a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more safe. I don't know if safe is the right word, but you know what I mean. And it kind of acts as an explanation, I guess. And at the moment, I work in a special needs school, so my workplace is tailored towards people like me, so I haven't had many adjustments needed to be made, but obviously that may change in the future. So if you are able to get one off your diagnostics team, definitely request one. I know sometimes they can give it to you as part of the resource pack that they give you if they diagnose you. And I can also show this to like other people. Like, it helps for me to just it words it much better than I could, if I'm going to be honest. And it also helps me as well, because I've got a whole list of all my problems. The second thing, and this might just be me, but it's massively helped me in my therapy and just my self-acceptance in general. But I'm currently in SCM therapy, which is structural clinical management. It's a relatively new therapy, I think. I've never really heard of it before, going to be honest. But apparently it's incredibly researched, and it works. I'm going to give you that. But it's aimed towards people with emotional regulation problems, problems with distress tolerance and interpersonal effectiveness and stuff like that. And when I got referred back in the summer, my CMHT, so my community mental health team, were aware of my ASD diagnosis, and they actually took it into consideration, and they allocated me a therapist who had ASD training, so who'd been on like training courses about ASD, obviously. But if you are aware of the mental health services within the UK, or just the NHS in general, you'll know that these people are like gold dust. So I am incredibly lucky to not only have access to SCM therapy, because again, that's not given out very often, but also to have access to the amazing therapist that I do. I love him. He is ace. It's quite scary. He knows me better than I do. A lot of things I'll say, and he'll be like, yep, that's because of your ASD. And I just sit there and go, oh, bollocks. It's quite scary. I never fully realised how much of a role autism plays in your mental health. And that is certainly a video that I will do some point in the future, because I find it an incredibly interesting topic. And it's something that's often overlooked. But I need to do some more research for me to be able to sit down and talk about it. But yeah, And I think also just with regards to my self-acceptance in general, it's massively helped. Um, it's kind of given me the time and space to be able to allow myself to use accommodations like ear defenders and things like that. I know that you don't need a diagnosis to be able to access all of these things, but I guess it's permitting yourself and using it without guilt. I know that sounds really stupid, um, but it definitely helps. Yeah, and it definitely helps ease some of the guilt when it comes to taking breaks or doing things differently to how you would normally do them or how most people do them, and kind of helping with that self-understanding of this is why I can't do things, or this is why I have to do things a little bit differently, or for me, you know, I think this is why I get more tired easily and things like that. Some people would say it takes away the responsibility. I would say it takes away the guilt, but it depends on how you look at it. The third and final thing is something that a lot of people have differing opinions on, which is why I've left it to the end, and that is PIP. Now, PIP stands for Personal Independence Payment. It is basically a certain amount of money that you get from the government every month based on your disability and how it affects you. It is means tested, it is incredibly stringent. You need to fill in a very detailed and in-depth form. Um, it asks you a lot of questions about your disability and how it affects you. There's two main categories: mobility and daily living. That's the word. And you can either get the standard rate or the enhanced rate based on your disability and how it affects you. Um, Sometimes they also need to interview you as well, depending on who's assessing you. Um, it's mainly set towards people with physical disabilities, but it can also, you know, I mean, it's open to anyone as long as you have medical grounds and medical evidence. So that means you know, like documents and things like that. Either letters from doctors or whatever it may be. Um, Again, I can talk about it, what I used as evidence in a different video if that will be helpful. It also allows you to be able to apply for things like Motability, so that's adjusted cars or cars, um, and the disabled rail card and things like that. As an autistic person, it helps me because it allows me to be able to afford sensory aids that I may otherwise may not have been able to. So things like weighted blankets, you know, ear defenders, chewies, things like that, because some of them are incredibly expensive and unnecessarily expensive. Um, and even the things like fidgets and stuff that may be cheaper, I often need to buy them multiple times, and so that can rack up. Um, for someone else, it may help them be able to afford transport, so public transport, because they can't drive. Some people it helps with their budgeting and finance because a lot of people with autism, myself included, have a very poor concept of money and currency. Um, for some people, it can help because they physically can't work due to their disability. There's lots of reasons. Basically, it's up to you how you spend money. Um, so it depends on you and what you feel that you need the money for. You don't need to explain what you need to spend the money on, you just need to explain that your disability affects you. I'm going to stop rambling and I'm going to finish the video there. That is all three things. I couldn't think of anything more, so I just did three. If you have anything else to add, please put them in the comments below. Blimey, I really can't talk today. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm a lot more active over there. It's at creating.casper. And I shall see you in my next video. Until then, stay safe.